So we are joined now by Professor Eytan Gilboa, the head of the Center for International Communication at Bar Ilan University. Professor Gilboa, you heard the discussion that we were just having here about this international deal with the United States, Israel, and Lebanon. How much power does the United States have? How much influence does it have when we're looking at the Lebanese arena to really get them to come to an agreement? Because they still have Hezbollah in their backyard, which is stronger than their government.
Yes, this is true, but given the American success in achieving an agreement between Israel and Lebanon on the oil offshore Israeli-Lebanese drilling, it seems that Amos Hochstein, who was the American representative to the talks, has connections and has ability to influence the government of Lebanon to avoid the kind of destruction we have seen so far in Gaza. And so the government of Lebanon will have to deal with Hezbollah. It's a 50-50 chance of being able to implement United Nations Resolution 1701, which at the time, back at 2006, Hezbollah was represented in that government, which approved of that decision. So it's a question of implementation rather than anything else. The choice would be either you do it in diplomacy and agreement, or you will have to face Israeli force.
Now, Eytan, as long as we're on the topic of the United States, we were talking for weeks now about American pressure on Israel, pressure to end the war. And this has largely been understood as it's an election year and the Democratic voter base is not for this war. That said, there's been a new poll in the U.S. press that shows Biden's approval rating on the war has actually gone up from 50 to 57%, largely because of his response to this war. Does that give Israel more operational freedom, and what does it say about the Democratic Party?
So yes, there are two groups in the Democratic Party which have opposed Biden's support for Israel during the war. One is the so-called progressives, and the other group is the Muslims, who said they would not vote for Biden. Doesn't make any sense, because not voting for Biden would bring a Republican who would be much tougher on Muslims in the United States. I think Biden has a problem, probably more of his age and economic policies, rather than his support for Israel on the war. However, when the Secretary of State Tony Blinken was here just about a week ago, he asked Israeli war cabinet how long it would take to end the war. The answer was a few months. He said, "You don't have a few months; you have a few weeks." And I think that this is related to a fear, American fear of Israel's losing international legitimacy for doing the war, for conducting the war, as well as domestic considerations, because the presidential primaries are going to start soon, and Biden would have liked to see the war ending by the beginning of the primary season.
Now, stay with us for a moment, because we're going to bring another aspect of this in. We mentioned the progressive wing as the heaviest critics of Israel in the United States right now. Nowhere is that more apparent than on American universities. Public shame has now forced the University of Pennsylvania to review and to revise its policies on harassment after University President Liz McGill faced backlash for refusing to answer if calling for the genocide of Jews constituted harassment of Jewish students on campus. This at a congressional hearing where McGill tried to frame escalating calls for genocide at her university as a free speech issue. In recent weeks, viral videos show pro-Hamas students marching around the University of Pennsylvania, chanting, "There is only one solution," and calling for Jewish genocide. Following this congressional hearing, the president of Harvard University also released a statement saying that people have misunderstood her widely panned remarks that the university will act on calls for genocide if the students act on those calls, a statement that raised eyebrows at the hearing and beyond. Now, University President Claudine Gay saying that calls for violence or genocide against the Jewish community or any religious or ethnic group are vile and have no place at Harvard, and those that threaten Jewish students will be held to account. Jewish students say they feel unsafe on campus, and Congress noted a level of hypocrisy in university codes of conduct that protect some races but not others.
In that moment, I was focused on our university's longstanding policies aligned with the U.S. Constitution, which say that speech alone is not punishable. I was not focused on, but I should have been, the irrefutable fact that a call for genocide of Jewish people is a call for some of the most terrible violence human beings can perpetrate. It's evil, plain and simple. For decades, under multiple Penn presidents and consistent with most universities, Penn's policies have been guided by the Constitution and the law. In today's world, where we are seeing signs of hate proliferating across our campus and our world in a way not seen in years, these policies need to be clarified and evaluated. Penn must initiate a serious and careful look at our policies, and Provost Jackson and I will immediately convene a process to do so.
These universities and their radicalism have become very much the heart of the modern progressive movement. Eytan, can this movement, because remember, these students, they vote, and they do largely vote Democrat. Can they be safely ignored by the rest of the party and shunted aside, or do they have to be reckoned with by the party itself?
Well, they have to be reckoned by the party itself. But you just presented a clarification statement by the president of the University of Pennsylvania. Why she didn't say the same words at the hearing? Why the president of Harvard University was forced to issue a clarification of what she meant? The hearings were astonishing, embarrassment to university presidents. They are not supposed to speak like that. They were asked specifically if calling for genocide of Jewish people contradicts the rules and codes of universities. And they have refused to answer these questions. It was. I am a graduate of Harvard. I went to the same department Claudine Gay, the present president of Harvard, went to. We had the same teachers. We have probably the same ideas. I've never heard anything like the kind of moral bankruptcy these elite universities have been demonstrating in the hearings as well as on the ground. And I think also the Democratic Party will have to deal effectively with the so-called progressives. Whoever identifies or supports Hamas could not be progressive, could not be liberal, because the values of liberalism are completely in contradiction with those of Hamas. And it's about time that universities not only talk, but also take actions against anti-Semitic professors, anti-Semitic organizations on campus, like Students for Justice in Palestine or Jewish Voice for Peace. Nice titles, but they are completely anti-Semitic. I have been a head of schools and departments. If I had an anti-Semitic professor, he would be fired in 2 minutes. And it's about time that universities take that kind of action.
Eytan, as long as we're talking about the U.S. Congress, I want to move to the Senate now and to the Republicans, because they just shot down, this is largely because of their more right fringe group, an Israeli aid bill that was linked to Ukraine. Similar question, does the Republican Party have to reckon with its own rabble-risers and firebrands?
Yeah, I think this is also highly problematic. What is happening here? The Republicans would like to separate aid to Israel from aid to Ukraine. There are a number of Congress men and women who are against the free check, so to speak, given to Ukraine. And so the president, Biden, is insisting on a package deal. He wants aid to Israel to go hand in hand with aid to Ukraine. The Republicans do not want to give them to approve of that. The Biden administration expected Netanyahu himself to work with Republicans and soften their position. So far, it has not worked. And this is problematic because time is running out. Congress is about to go on the Christmas vacation. And I think that the Republicans will have to get their act together, because this is not the first time presidents are presenting to Congress packages of aid going to a number of countries. In the past, it has been always Israel with Egypt and other Arab countries. So I think that this time, the Republicans will have to change their position rather than the president.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Eytan, for your analysis of, well, everything that seems to be going wrong or going insane in America.
Right.